Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Noelle, a licensed counselor, former school counselor, and the founder of Counselor HQ, where we support counselors with resources, tools, and community so that you can do your work without burning yourself out. Today, we are talking about something that so many counselors think about at some point in their career, I think, starting your own practice. Maybe you've been working in an agency for years and you're ready for more autonomy. Maybe you're in a group practice and wondering what would it look like to build something of your own. Or maybe you're in grad school and just curious about different options and how private practice actually works. Starting a practice can feel very exciting and also incredibly overwhelming. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through some of the big things to think about when building your own counseling practice, so you can start to think about the process in a realistic and manageable way. Now, there's a lot of depth to this, so this is just a brief overview. But the first big decision you want to look at is, what kind of practice do you want? Before you start thinking about paperwork, websites, office space, the first step is actually getting clear on the type of practice you want to build. A lot of counselors skip this step and go straight into logistics, but this part really matters. I want you to ask yourself, do I want a solo practice or eventually a group practice? Do I want to bring more counselors on? Do I want to work in person, online, or maybe a little bit of both, a hybrid situation? What population do you want to serve? What schedule and lifestyle are you trying to create by opening your own practice? Private practice isn't just about working for yourself. It's about designing a professional life that actually fits you, your values, and your needs. For some counselors, that means seeing a small caseload, maybe 3 days a week. For others, it means building a large practice with multiple clinicians. There's no right answer here, but clarity early on will guide every decision you make later. So the next part is naming and branding your practice. One of the most fun parts of starting a practice is choosing a name, but it's actually more strategic than people realize. There are a few common approaches different counselors use. Some people name their practice after themselves, like Noelle Rizzio Counseling and Consulting, which is a real thing. Others choose a location-based name that helps with local visibility. And some practices highlight a specialty like trauma or anxiety or couples work. And some practices choose more conceptual names that reflect a feeling or a transformation that they want their clients to experience. The big thing to remember here is your practice should be professional, it should be memorable, and aligned with your long-term goals, right? If you name it after yourself and you bring other counselors in, is that going to work? If you name it for a location and then you decide to move, is that going to work? So really thinking all of these things through. All right, section 3. This is the business side of counseling. This is the part where many counselors feel nervous because it's the business of running a practice. But the truth is, you don't have to become a business expert overnight, right? We weren't trained in business administration. We weren't trained in all of these things. We were trained in counseling, right? So this can feel really heavy and overwhelming. These are just a few areas that you need to start thinking about, and this will come along in greater depth later on in your process. But just start thinking about things like a basic budget plan, okay? What kind of startup money do you have? What kind of startup money do you need? How will you get that? A legal structure and liability protection. What does that look like? Insurance versus private pay decisions. Do you need to be credentialed through insurance companies, or are you just going to have your clients pay out of pocket? And what does that look like for your clientele? And just think about some basic financial organization. Starting a practice does require some upfront planning, but it's usually much more manageable than people imagine once you break it down into steps. Most successful practices are built slowly and thoughtfully, not overnight. It doesn't have to be a quick rush thing. Another thing many counselors worry about, me in particular, this is a difficult one, is marketing. A lot of us go into the counseling field because we want to help people, not because we want to promote ourselves, right? This feels unnatural to us. But marketing in counseling doesn't have to feel uncomfortable. At its core, marketing is simply helping the right clients find you. So that might look like a simple professional website, a profile on different therapist directories, building relationships with referral partners, sharing helpful information online. You don't need to do everything all at once. Start small and then grow from there. Word of mouth is important, but it's not everything. It won't take you as far as you want to go. Okay? Technology. This is another thing that can make counselors very uncomfortable. Technology can actually make running your practice much simpler than it used to be. There are platforms that help you with scheduling, documentation, billing, telehealth, client communication. Using the right tools can save you hours of administrative work every week, which allows you to focus on what you actually want to do, which is help people. Do your research, look into different technology and what you are going to need. And I am working on doing a guide for kind of rating the different counseling technologies and what's best, what works best for this situation, what works best in that situation. So look out for that. Then you need just gentle promotion of yourself. And it does, like I said, it doesn't have to be awkward. It just has to be you, right? So if starting your practice is something that you're seriously considered, I actually created a resource that walks you through this entire process with a little bit more detail. It's called A Guide to Building Your Own Practice. And it breaks down things like planning, budgeting, marketing, technology, and the practical steps that counselors need when starting out with your own practice. If you want something that helps you organize the process step by step, I'm going to include the link to the guide in the description so you can check it out. Starting a practice is a big step, but it can also be an incredibly rewarding one. It gives you the opportunity to create a space that reflects your own values, your own approach to care, and the kind of environment that you want to provide for your clients. And remember, you don't have to figure everything out at once. Take it one step at a time. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe so more counselors can find these resources. If you're thinking about starting a practice, I'd love to hear in the comments what part of the process feels most overwhelming right now. Thanks for being here, and I will see you in the next video.